Don't stop.
Listen, we know you in so many roles, but being a mom to Charlotte Naden, who's just under 2, must top the list. And we've seen that you recently started to become more active, I think, to most people, politically and talking about the things you're seeing in the world. Do you think it's important for you to show this responsibility? Your kids are young, but is it important for you to show this responsibility that if you see something, you should speak about
Absolutely. So it's great to be back on The View. Thank you. And thank you. And Whoopi, my children are the most important part of my life. I mean, being a mom is my most important identity. My son Aiden called me Chelsea this morning. I was like, oh gosh, no, mom, Aiden.
How old is he again?
20 months. I had this moment of like, oh gosh, like that may be who I am to everyone else, but to you, I am your mother.
Yeah.
And being your mother is what motivates me, right? It's what motivates me to work for what I believe in, to stand up against what I oppose, and to talk to them about why I work so hard. That I only work so hard because I want there to be a better, safer, healthier, more equitable world for my children, for Amber's child, for your grandchild, for all the children in all of our lives. So absolutely lucky.
And, as you know, we talk at this table almost every day, if not every day, about the state of our country now and how it is disconcerting for many. What troubles you the most about the state of the country right now? Ooh. And what would you say to the president about it?
Please do your job. Focus on your job. Please don't worry about like the Oscar ratings or how my mom's doing, although thank you, she's doing great. Please worry about what's happening on the Korean Peninsula. Please worry about how to ensure that what the Parkland students are saying, never again, truly is never again. So we never have another school shooting in our country. Please worry about what you can do from the federal government's perspective to ensure that teachers in West Virginia and everywhere are paid appropriately, right? Whatever issue that you most care about, please, lead us forward on that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say to the president.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Mr. President, if you're watching, well, you just heard what I said.
He watches all the time. We know. The most recent Gallup poll of Trump's approval rating by Republicans is at 85%, though. So there are a lot of Americans, there's even a Trump supporter in here today, that do approve of what he's doing. So what do you think Trump supporters are seeing in this 85% approval rating in the Republican Party that Democrats aren't?
Well, Meghan, I would never speak for anyone but myself. I mean, sometimes people ask me, like, well, what would your mother say? And I say, well, then you should ask my mom, right? Like, I wouldn't speak for my parents or my children, much less someone who has very different views as to what I believe is right for our country. That being said, I do think, and I would hope that regardless of where we sit on the political spectrum, we can agree on what our common challenges are and then hopefully kind of spend time and energy about how we best solve those. But I would, if any of the Trump supporters want to talk to me afterwards, I'll be really curious to hear what they have to say.
Does it surprise you it's that high, though? Because 85% is a high approval rating among Republicans.
Well, I'm not a Republican, so I also wouldn't speak kind of for the Republican Party. I mean, certainly I think if we look at the president's approval ratings broadly across the country, it's clear that most Americans are looking for a different type of kind of leadership, both in terms of the problems being solved, but also kind of the approach of how they're being solved in the language that historically we've heard from the men who've held that office. But again, I really think if we can agree on what our common challenges are, hopefully that then catalyzes our ability to move forward.
Yeah.
Chelsea, you mentioned just a moment ago, Parkland and everything that's been going on. And one of the things that's been most upsetting for me is Donald Trump's idea that arming teachers is the best way to keep our children safe. My mother has been a teacher in the LA Unified School District for 2 decades. She teaches in private schools, in public schools. She teaches every range of child, every age of child. She's an extraordinary woman and mother, and I cannot possibly fathom the thought of my mom having to carry a gun on her, and I strongly believe that teachers' roles are to shape the minds of our children, and we shouldn't have to be worrying about this. It should just be a conversation that everyone agrees on, and I just wanted to know what some of your thoughts were on that as well.
Well, I first thank your mom for being a teacher. Yeah. I mean, I'm still in touch with my first grade teacher, Mrs. Mitchell. If you're watching, Mrs. Mitchell, thank you very much. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, we expect so much out of our teachers. We expect them to be teachers, social workers, psychologists, nurses, doctors, disciplinarians. I certainly don't think, while also I think not being adequately compensated or respected for the profound work they do kind of for our children and our shared future. And so, you know, I don't think that we should expect them to also be law enforcement officers. And we also have so much research that shows kind of more guns in any setting lead to more gun violence in any setting, whether that's in a home or outside a home. And so I would hope that we would listen to the research and also listen to the moral call of what we should be doing to support teachers, to help them teach our children, and then provide whatever kind of public safety, security, but also social emotional support for our children around the teachers that they deserve and that all our kids deserve.
Right. Yeah. We agree. I agree with that. I was a teacher. I would never be able to handle a gun. Put a gun in my hand and you're in trouble. But, you know, we've been watching this whole gun thing for a while, and this last Parkland shooting, I think was a tipping point. Do you? I mean, do you think things will change now because of these kids in Parkland?
Well, I mean, we're already seeing changes in Florida. Yeah. I mean, we saw kind of new legislation pass in Florida that hopefully will become law. We are talking again about the assault weapons ban, from 1994 to 2004. Where we did have a marked decrease in
people, I was talking to somebody today about that, and they were saying, well, what's the point? There are so many millions of these assault weapons out there now. You'd never be able to get them all back.
We have to start somewhere.
That's what I said.
We have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and the bullets will run out eventually.
So what we also have to do is we have to stop somewhere. So we're going to stop here, and then we're going to go.
Where is this going? We're going to be very profound for a moment.
And come back with more with Chelsea Clinton.
We are back with the author of She Persisted Around the World, Chelsea Clinton. Yeah. So this is another hot topic that we talked about at the table. Last week, Ivanka Trump told a reporter it was inappropriate for him to ask her about her father's sexual assault allegations, even though she is a member of the administration. Do you think that was a fair question by the reporter?
I think that anyone who works for the White House should be expected to answer any question about the White House, about the president, about the White House's policies, practices. So, yes, I do think it was a fair question.
Yeah. That's where we came down.
So being a mom inspired you to write your new children's book called She Persisted Around the World. It's companion to your first book, She Persisted, and it's about 13 women who made a difference globally. Tell us about this.
Well, I was so just struck, humbled, inspired by the response to She Persisted by the little girls and little boys who came up to tell me about their favorite stories, that I just wanted to share more stories of women who've really inspired me and changed the world. And so the product of that was She Persisted Around the World. And again, I wanted to highlight stories of women who had made a profound difference in the arts, women who had made a profound difference in science, in activism, in sports. And I'm just so excited to be here with all of you today.
And let's talk about some of the women who are in the book. There are 13 of them.
There are 13.
And one of them is J.K. Rowling, the author.
Yes.
Why her? Why did you pick her?
Well, I picked J.K. Rowling because she does have a remarkable story of persistence.
She does.
Harry Potter was turned down a dozen times. So for her, 13 was actually a lucky number. The 13th publisher said yes. They then kind of gently encouraged her to go with J.K. instead of Joanne, because they weren't sure if little boys would want to read about a boy wizard who'd been kind of imagined by a woman author. And today, the Harry Potter series is the best-selling series in history.
Yeah.
So
she persisted.
She persisted.
Sure did.
She was living in her car at one point.
She was living in her car. She was working in a cafe.
Whole thing.
She spent 5 years creating the Harry Potter world. She had to do it before work, after work. She worked in subway stations, which is kind of where kind of that iconic scene of going to Hogwarts came from. So I just, I love Harry Potter. And I love her story even more.
You
I don't know, what are
also,
we doing to our boys if they would say something like that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that you can't
that
use
you
the name
could.
Joanne.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was shocked.
Well,
really?
now we're telling them you can.
Yeah.
Good.
yeah. You also wrote about soccer star Sissy Lima do Amor. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, thank you, Megan. So, Cece always loved soccer, but when she was a little girl in Brazil, it actually was illegal for girls to play soccer. Yep. This has been the hardest thing for my daughter, Charlotte, who loves soccer, to understand. It was actually illegal for girls to play soccer in Brazil until 1979.
Oh, my God.
And so she had to, admittedly, decapitate her dolls and like use her dolls' heads as soccer balls. Wow. And then her parents finally got her a soccer ball, but she had to play only in